In the gleaming towers of Dubai, where fortunes rise overnight and reputations shatter in seconds, secrets breed behind tinted glass windows. Faisal al-Rashid had everything. At 39, he was a self-made Kuwaiti businessman living in a Palm Jumeirah mansion, driving Lamborghinis and owning a fleet of luxury cars for export. To the world, he was charming, generous, a devoted husband and father. But behind that perfect smile was a man consumed by insecurity, desperate for validation, vulnerable to flattery, and addicted to power. His wife, Layla, was admired by society. Emirati by blood, elegant and educated, she ran a successful charity for abused women and hosted Dubai's most exclusive majlis gatherings. Many envied her life. Few knew her pain. And then there was Rania Sadiq, his 27-year-old Lebanese executive assistant with eyes as dark as midnight and a beauty that drew every gaze in the boardroom. Confident, ambitious, and rumored to have built her career on secrets whispered behind locked doors. When Rania entered Faisal's world, what began as an affair turned into blackmail, and what began as blackmail ended with murder. Tonight on Dark Dubai Diaries, we uncover the chilling tale of betrayal, lust, greed, and death under the desert moonlight. It started with glances across glass meeting tables. Faisal would watch Rania as she took notes during board meetings, her manicured fingers gliding across the notepad, her perfume drifting lightly through the room. She laughed at his jokes, even when no one else did. She noticed his cufflinks, complimented his new watches, asked about his favorite cologne. For Faisal, it was intoxicating. At home, Layla's love felt like duty. With Rania, it felt like adoration. Late evenings became their secret world. When the office emptied, Faisal would call her into his suite for urgent end-of-day discussions. They would sit on opposite sides of his mahogany desk. She would lean forward slightly, blouse collar dropping just enough to reveal the delicate gold necklace resting against her skin. He would pretend to read reports, words blurring into meaningless lines as he watched her lips move. One evening, after finalizing a $1 million dirham contract, he invited her for a drink at the Address Downtown Lounge. The city lights glittered below them like fallen stars. Rania sipped her cocktail slowly, her eyes locked onto his. "You're different, Faisal," she whispered. "Other men, they're cheap. You're powerful. You're a king." In that moment, something in him snapped. The guilt, the fear, the shame drowned under a tidal wave of ego and desire. That night, they booked a suite overlooking the Burj Khalifa. In the dim golden light of the room, Faisal felt alive in a way he hadn't for years. Their affair ignited into an inferno. Secret weekend trips to Abu Dhabi, gifts, Cartier bracelets, limited edition Hermes bags, and a diamond ring hidden deep in her apartment closet. Rania played her role perfectly. She listened to his insecurities about business rivals. She massaged his shoulders when stress bent his spine. She told him he was brilliant, strong, unstoppable. But beneath those compliments was calculation. Rania wanted more. She began hinting about a luxury apartment in downtown Dubai. When Faisal hesitated, her text turned colder. "I'm tired of being your secret," she wrote one night. "You have 2 weeks to decide what place I have in your life, or I decide for you." Faisal panicked. His empire, his reputation, Layla, his children, everything was at risk. Meanwhile, Layla watched him, quietly. She noticed his distant eyes, his sudden need for late-night meetings, the perfume lingering on his suit that wasn't hers. One evening, as Faisal showered, Layla picked up his phone to check the time. A notification lit up the screen. "Don't ignore me, Habibi. You owe me." Layla felt her stomach twist with cold rage. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply as tears burned behind her eyelids. In that moment, Layla made a silent vow. If Rania Sadiq wanted war, she would get it. Rania's texts grew more sinister each day. Gone was the soft, adoring assistant. In her place stood a cold strategist. "I've saved everything," she wrote. "The videos, the bank transfers, the gifts. Layla will know. Your children will know. Dubai will know who you really are." Faisal began losing sleep. His hands shook during meetings. He snapped at employees over the smallest errors. At night, he lay beside Layla, staring at the ceiling as silent tears pooled in his eyes. But Rania wasn't done. Her final message shattered him. "If I can't have you, no one will." That morning, Faisal's phone rang at 5 a.m. It was Rania, her voice calm and chilling. Meet me tonight, Al Qudra Desert, 11 p.m. Bring my apartment papers, or I release everything. That night, Faisal drove alone into the silent black dunes. The headlights of his Range Rover carved pale paths across the sand. Rania stood waiting in a black abaya, the hood framing her sharp, beautiful face. Underneath, she wore the Cartier bracelet he'd given her, glinting under the moonlight. "Did you bring them?" she asked softly, her eyes empty of affection. "Rania, don't do this," he whispered, voice cracking. "Please, you're destroying my life." She tilted her head, smiling coldly. "No, Faisal, you're destroying your life. I'm just giving you what you deserve." She stepped closer, her perfume mixing with the scent of desert air and petrol. Leaning in, she whispered into his ear, "Do you know what I think about when you touch me? I think about how pathetic you are, how you beg for validation like a child, how easy it is to break you and your precious wife." In that moment, all his fear, shame, guilt, and humiliation twisted into a single monstrous rage. The empire he built brick by brick, all collapsing under Rania's smirk. Without thinking, he lunged forward, his hands wrapping around her throat. She gasped, eyes widening in shock, clawing at his wrists. The desert echoed with muffled chokes as sand blew across their feet. He squeezed harder, tears streaming down his face. In her final moments, Rania's gaze softened with realization that she had underestimated the man she thought she controlled. When it was over, Faisal collapsed beside her body. The wind howled softly across the dunes, erasing footprints, carrying away prayers no God would hear. For a moment, he sat staring at her lifeless face, half buried in the sand, her lips still curved in that same mocking smile. He felt nothing. No regret, no grief, just emptiness. He buried her with his bare hands, shoveling sand over her body until only her bracelet remained visible. He pulled it off and slipped it into his pocket, then drove away, leaving the desert silent once again. For 2 days, Faisal lived as if nothing had happened. He attended meetings, prayed at the masjid, kissed his children goodnight. But inside, his mind was disintegrating. At night, he saw Rania's face in the shadows of his bedroom. In meetings, he heard her mocking whisper under the voices of his board members. His chest felt tight, as if a giant hand gripped his heart. Layla watched him silently. She noticed his shaking hands, the way he flinched at sudden noises, the smell of desert sand clinging to his suits. But while Faisal tried to maintain his facade, Dubai police had already begun investigating Rania's disappearance. Her family in Beirut filed a missing person report when she failed to call home for 2 days, something she never missed. Her friends told officers about a man she was seeing, though none knew his name. Her landlord mentioned she had recently come into expensive jewelry and designer handbags. The breakthrough came from her scheduled email. Rania had set it to send to her lawyer and 2 close friends if she did not check in within 48 hours. The email contained recordings, screenshots of conversations, bank transfers, and a GPS pin for her meeting with Faisal in the desert. When Dubai police traced her phone location, they found it powered off in the dunes of Al Qudra. Officers and trackers scoured the sands for hours until they found her shallow grave, her Cartier bracelet missing from her wrist. They arrived at Faisal's mansion before dawn. In interrogation, Faisal broke within minutes. Tears streamed down his face as he confessed every detail, his voice rising to a frantic pitch. "She laughed at me. She called me pathetic. She said my children would see. I didn't mean to. I just wanted her to stop. To stop. To stop." His words collapsed into incoherent sobs. The room fell silent except for the desperate, choking sounds of a man whose mind had shattered under his own sins. Investigators later revealed that surveillance cameras on Al Qudra roads captured Faisal's Range Rover entering the desert at 10:42 p.m. and leaving an hour later, covered in sand. His driver's log also confirmed the vehicle's absence that night. Faisal al-Rashid was sentenced to life imprisonment for premeditated murder and obstruction of justice. Layla divorced him quietly, taking their children back to her family villa in Abu Dhabi. For months, she barely spoke to anyone. Her days were spent managing her charity, ensuring women escaping abuse found shelter and dignity. But at night, when the children slept, she sat alone on the balcony overlooking the silent city, wondering how the man she once loved had turned into someone she no longer recognized. Their eldest son, Khalid, was only 10 when Faisal was arrested. He stopped speaking for weeks, traumatized by whispers at school and harsh questions from classmates. Layla enrolled him in private therapy and home tutoring to shield him from the cruelty of the world outside. Their youngest, Amira, was just 6. She asked every night when Baba was coming home, clinging to Layla's abaya as tears streamed down her cheeks. Layla would kiss her forehead and whisper, "Baba is away for work, Habibti," even though she knew one day she would have to tell her daughter the truth. Layla resumed her charity work with quiet determination. Her eyes carried a sadness that never left, a grief buried under layers of strength she forced herself to wear each morning. To the world, she remained poised and dignified, but inside she mourned the death of a family she had built with love, only to watch it crumble under betrayal and violence. Ranya's funeral was sparsely attended. Her family flew her body back to Beirut, burying her in a hillside grave overlooking the sea. And in Dubai, people whispered about the tycoon who lost everything to an affair, about the woman whose ambition consumed her, and about a family broken forever. Sometimes, monsters aren't born in dark alleys or abandoned homes. Sometimes, monsters live among us, in glass towers, luxury cars, and million-dirham villas. And sometimes, the greatest monster lives inside ourselves.